Comrades, as I close, I want to state that as Africans, our fight has never been confined to the borders. From the very beginning, the struggle of South Africa against apartheid, we knew that suffering of one oppressed people anywhere in the world is the suffering of all oppressed people everywhere. It was in that spirit that South Africa, during its liberation struggle, was embraced by Nigeria and other African nations, who declared that apartheid was not simply a South African problem, but an African and global crime. It is in that same spirit that today we say our liberation as Africans will remain incomplete if we turn a blind eye to the struggles of those who continue to suffer under occupation, colonialism, imperialism, and economic exploitation. It is this tradition of solidarity that compels us today to speak clearly on the struggle of other oppressed people. The EFF continues to stand firmly with Western Sahara, Palestine, Cuba, Haiti, the Democratic Republic of Congo as a commitment to international law and justice. In Western Sahara, Morocco's continued occupation violates the principle of the United Nations Charter and the African Union's Constitutive Act, both of which enshrined the right to self-determination. The International Court of Justice affirmed in 1975 that Morocco had no sovereignty over Western Sahara. Yet, decades later, the Sahrawi people remain dispossessed. In Palestine, we are witnessing one of the gravest violations of international law in modern history. The apartheid regime of Israel has for decades defied UN resolutions, the Geneva Conventions, and international humanitarian law. Collective punishment, the bombing of hospitals, the illegal taking of land, the killing of children, and the deliberate starvation of populations are crimes under the Roman Statute of the International Criminal Court. The world cannot remain neutral in the face of genocide. And just as apartheid South Africa was declared a crime against humanity, so too must be the international community recognize and act against Israel's apartheid and genocide. The importance of fighting on the level of the law was made evident in this case when the South African government took Israel to International Court of Justice to report their crimes when no other country will do so. This fight in international court was won when the court declared that indeed Israel was perpetuating genocide, a win that was necessary to sway some support away from Israel and to embolden other countries to speak out. This fight also led to the International Criminal Court to issue a warrant of arrest for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his Minister of Defense for war crimes. This is the power of the legal fraternity in the global fight for the oppressed. However, the ICJ pace is slow and final judgment on charging Israel with genocide has not occurred yet. We must therefore confront the uncomfortable truth that the slow pace of these proceedings is not accidental, but reflects a global legal order designed and maintained under white supremacy. International law is swift and ruthless when prosecuting leaders of the global south, yet hesitant and cautious when dealing with crimes committed by Western powers or their allies. This is hypocrisy we must name without fear. When an African leader is accused, indictments are issued overnight, sanctions are imposed immediately, military interventions justified under the banner of international law. However, when Israel starves children in Gaza or the United States and its allies invade nations and topples governments, the same institutions suddenly discover restraint, complicity, and delay. As the legal fraternity of Africa, you cannot accept this double standard. You must be bold enough to create alternative and fair systems of accountability that do not bend to imperialist interests. If the so-called international community is unwilling to deliver justice in real time, then Africa must advance its own courts, its own tribunals, its own instruments of solidarity and protection. Just as we build liberation movements when colonialism denied us freedom, so too must we build new legal institutions when the existing ones fail us. In Cuba, for over 60 years, the United States has imposed an economic blockade in contravention of international law, including the principle of non-interference and the sovereign right of nations to choose their social and economic system. Despite this, Cuba has demonstrated a profound commitment to human solidarity, sending doctors across the globe, including to Africa, welcoming Africans into their classrooms and participating in the liberation of the oppressed. Cuba never sent their soldiers anywhere to kill anyone. Instead, they send their doctors all over to go and save life. The tragedy of Haiti is one of historical injustice. Haiti's revolution was first declaration of black freedom in the modern world, yet it was punished with centuries of economic sabotage and enforced debt. Contrary to any principle of justice, today, Haiti suffers from foreign interference, the denial of sovereignty, and the imposition of external governance. International law demands reparation, debt cancellation, and the withdrawal of foreign forces so that Haiti can govern itself in dignity. We have seen DRC not experiencing peace because of its mineral resources. We must stand with DRC and demand that there must be permanent peace in DRC and everywhere else in Africa. Because DRC without peace, it will never experience economic growth. We are because DRC it is. We are the people of Southern Sudan. We must make sure that no single corner of Africa there are guns where Africans are killing each other. Africans must always be together against the enemy forces who want to exploit our country. We are here today to reclaim our land. We want the land of Africa to be returned to Africa because it belongs to the Africans. We want the minerals of Africa to be returned to the Africans because that's where they belong. We want to build industries in Africa and process our minerals here in Africa. We've got the capacity. We must never allow the imperialist forces to divide us in order to take our minerals from us. We demand one Africa. We demand borderless Africa. We demand Africa with one president, with one currency, with one military command, with one parliament, because we know the currency of Africa will be much more stronger against the American currency. We don't care what Trump thinks of us. He will never choose a policy position for Africans. We are not subject of Trump. We must refuse to be subjects of Trump. We must stand together as the world changes and show the world that Africa is one and Africa is equal to all nations, to China, to Russia, to America. We are not just a small nation. We are a big nation. We are not a dark continent. How can we be dark when we've got diamond that is shining amongst us? We are a shining nation. I thank you.